The word. When the universe contracts to its fullest, like a well-drawn bow, it reaches its maximum tension, releasing all its potential energy into a kinetic force expanding to create the all. This is what is referred to as the Word, and is attributed to a divine being who states in Genesis, "Let there be light." It is only in the writer of those words that the event is distinct from the cause. There is no light apart from the Creator. It is one event. No need for a being to say the words "let there be." The event is the word. Every description is a false narrative, an attempt to explain to an ego-driven mind something beyond words. This reliance on words has done a great disservice to spiritual development. I can hear you say, well then what are all these words? Isn't it a bit hypocritical to use the very inhibitor of spiritual growth to describe it? Well, if I could, I would throw a glass of water at you and call it wet, but you would not have needed the word. You would know by your wetness. I felt the same way while studying Zen. How many millions of words have been written about a process that cannot be named? What happened after years of study is that I gave up studying mind practice and began practicing the art of Zen, a non-mind practice. A practice that by its very nature refuses words or verbal reflection. The result shed a vastly different light on everything I believed about the universe and our place in it. I was going to say you would need to see it to believe it, but that would not suffice. Rather, I will say you have to be it to believe it. So, if I can ask your indulgence, I want to throw a few words at you in the hope that they can act as a finger pointing to something vague and shrouded in the complex wiring of our working mind, something that can liberate the soul from the illusion of mind. Open your eyes, voila. There is a wide world of things to see. Close your eyes, it is all gone. Is it? Crack a lid a little bit, and there it is again. How can a Buddhist say the world is an illusion? If I throw a stone at you, and it hits your head, eyes open or not, you will have a lump. Point taken, but that is not the illusion. The illusion is in the understanding of what transpired. The event is different depending on what was perceived by the mind. Eyes closed we have. Something just hit my head. Eyes open, that guy just threw a stone and hit me on the head. How terribly rude. Both required the mind to scan input, assign definition, open and close files and assign meaning. All now making the event feel historical, as if it is over before it is analyzed. So, what you might say, either way it still occurred. Yes, you are right, but this especially for English-speaking culture a problem due to the nature of our language. English is very linear. The noun does a thing, the verb explains it. A dog is walking. This is a verbal narrative as opposed to the idea of walking dog, which is more visual. The first fully separates the dog from its action, while the second has the action and the dog occurring together as a whole, an especially important distinction for the mind. One approach combines the action with the actor, while the other treats it as an object performing an action. Back to the idea of creation and the creator. In Genesis, God spoke, "Let there be light," and there was light. Let there be the firmament, seas below and heaven above, etc. Using words, he formed the universe and all things of it. It reads as linear. God is apart from the events. God is descriptive and separate. God later creates a man in his image and likeness, able to stand apart from his creation, and using descriptive words given dominion over all. Well done, God, you just alienated those very beings from living in the present moment and cursed them to live a life of looking forward, but living in the past devoid of ever being in the moment. Maybe not. Could it be that the author of the English translating of Genesis used linear language to describe events that occurred in a much less linear way? No longer able to contract any further, the void overflowing with potential releases and becomes manifest. Within this manifestation, a myriad of forms come to be in full expression of creation, creator and creation, one with an ever-changing growing expansion. We are all in and inseparable from this universal wave. We are one form, one expression of this divine cosmic dance. We evolve to become sentient, and so see our own being as other than the whole. We developed language and processing through our senses to see and react to all around as separate and outside ourselves, which works on a biological level of survival but keeps us apart from the true divinity of ourselves. We are so much more than words can say. We are divine in design and function, so much deeper than our mind can describe. All that needs to happen is to remember what we were before words defined us. I like a quote in the Gospel attributed to Jesus. He said, "Nothing that can go into your mouth can make you unclean. It is only what comes out of your mouth that does so." Or when Moses asks God his name and God responded, "I am." This "I am" is not an ego expression, but rather a statement of existing undefined in a formless state of pure potential, thus becoming all. Well, if you read this far and call bull on it all, that is fine. No harm, no foul, we all walk our own roads. If, however, he said, there is something here that is fine also. I do not have the corner market on truth, just a strong curiosity and desire to ponder. I love to ponder. To ponder is to flow through thoughts without seeking a solution. It is to bathe in ideas and swim around in them and see what comes up. It clears the mind. So, what does any of this mean? It means that our evolution has created a mind that likes to work in terms of dualism. We like the black and white of hot and cold, light and dark, in and out, safe and dangerous, good and bad, God and the devil, etc. Gray is acceptable if it clearly stems from defined opposites. It is logical then for man to believe that the outside world and the inside world are separate, and that we are a thing walking on the world created by a thing outside ourselves. It becomes so hard to remember we are not on, but in the world and experiencing life with the world. We miss so much not being in the flow. There are things in this world that can help us remember our true nature. Watching a sunset is one. Never watch a sunset with a person who is explaining how it compares to other ones, or what was the best one ever, or never watch one when you are doing the same. Watch with a still mind and an open heart, and you'll feel a deep connection. It is not happening outside of you or inside of you, it is occurring with you. You and the moment are one. There are so many times this occurs in life. Any time you get into a flow, fully engaged with being involved in life, not doing but being in your genuine self, you become the verb, the action, and you are one. Now for the tricky part. It could well be that we have been duped by our very own evolution and become word-dependent. I read one time that our vocal cords move even when we think to ourselves. This has led to religious systems' dependence on the written word. We pray with words, we live and die with words, even to the point of last words before death and last rites spoken in our ears. We also live by holy texts. I would venture to say the very God we pray and worship was created in our image. An image of God dependent on language, and like us dependent on linear language to process the universe. It would seem unlikely that the I Am, the Alpha and Omega, would need such a clumsy processing system. Christian and Jewish practitioners believe that the I Am is all-knowing, all-present, all-powerful, and has always been. God exists without time or space, the source of all, like a bowl filled to overflowing with potential, that as it spills becomes the universe. Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching echoes the thought of the undefined by saying something to the effect of, something existed before the creation. For lack of words I call it great, by way of it being far-reaching, like the Great Mother. Words cannot define it, but I know by its work that it is. It then becomes the nature of a spiritual seeker to see beyond the dualistic nature of the mind, to melt the distinction of this and that inside world and out. To see the structure of the mind as a tool to be used for navigating life, but to know mind is not life itself. This is not the easiest thing to do. It requires one to walk to the edge of the great void, peer in and freely leap into the unknown. Sounds dramatic, doesn't it? Maybe it should be accompanied by some dramatic doom-sounding musical underscore. In reality, it requires you to trust in your own being and try as you can to rediscover that part of you called the spirit, that thing that predates the defined you with all your labels that your ego self has created or had bestowed onto it by others. It is that undefined image, the face before you were born. It is intuitive, non-verbal, still like a deep pool, and quiet. Rest in quiet stillness, do nothing, Open your rib cage and let the universe in, then gently squeeze air out. This wave of breath mimics the wave of the universe. Remember, the outside world and the inside world are one world. You are a divine being of light in the world, not on it. The Creator and the creation are also one. God is all about you and in you. There is no need to seek, you are already there.